spoiled we are. On TNT with AEW Dynamite, on USA with WWE NXT, yet people will bitch on the internet. How you doing? I'm Kevin Kellam, coming to you from Chicago, Illinois. Over there on the other side of the screen from Central PA, hey, how you doing, John Clark? He covered NXT, even though he was supposed to watch AEW Dynamite, and then we had to switch. Don't worry. Don't shame yourself. Don't shame yourself.
I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
His bias is exposed. All right, we'll get into all of the Wednesday Night Wars, but if you're watching right now and you're with us live or you're watching on demand, share the link. This show is free. I beat up my finger today while I'm trying to type this out. That's how hard I was typing and tweeting. All right, so if you are enjoying the show, just share the link, get your comments on screen, interact with us. New viewers, tell us where you guys are watching from. People on the podcast side of things, thank you so much. So many more listeners of the WrestleZone podcast this week in Australia. We have plenty of content for you to listen to, including a brand new interview with Doc Gallows talking about his upcoming Talkin' Shop-A-Mania pay-per-view this Friday on Fight TV. So let's get into it, John. Before we review any other shows, we had some big things happen over on NXT. We have the NXT champion, Finn Balor, returning, right? That's a big story. And so it looks like he's hopefully out of the clear with that jaw injury.
I think that's what we're going to get to, or at least we'll know for sure next week when he'll be able to come back. And I do fully think that when he comes back next week, we will get somebody like a Karrion Kross or somebody to interfere with him. So.
And then over on AEW, people are asking, who is the big return jumping in here? Yes, there was a big return on AEW, and Tony Khan had a video out on Twitter during the show. The president of AEW saying, stay till the end. And they were really fighting for the quarter hours. A lot of teases tonight on AEW. And the big return was Pac. The Bastard is back in AEW. After many, many months not being with the company due to the pandemic, being stuck over in the UK. And maybe he's reformed the Death Triangle. It's not exactly sure. He got into it with Eddie Kingston. A lot of people sounding off here. A lot of people enjoying the show. A lot of familiar faces. I like seeing that. A lot of people freaking out that Pac is back in AEW. Santiago Briones is texting and saying, Pac! He can't, Pac is back. This is crazy. People love a big return. They love themselves a big surprising return from someone they haven't seen in a long time. That always works, right, John?
Yeah, but I don't want to spoil too much, but I don't think that was the biggest surprise in wrestling tonight.
All right. No, there was a bigger surprise in wrestling tonight, and it came from NXT. And we'll get into that. We had a big title change. We'll touch on that in just a little bit. Let's jump into AEW first. And remember, while watching or listening to the show, go ahead and tell us at WrestleZone.com on Twitter, or here if you're watching the show live here on YouTube, Facebook, or even on demand. Go in the comments below and give us the 1 to 10. The 1 being, oh no, how long do we have to wait for the vaccine, to 10? We're getting the vaccine tomorrow. So that's kind of the rating we have. All right. So here's where we are. Let's get into AEW Dynamite. We're back in Jacksonville. Daly's Place looking big time. New graphics and intro. I heard a lot of people freaking out about new graphics and intro. That's what you always see people talking about, but it was fine. You still have the same theme music. Ricky Starks and Brian Cage make their way out to the ring. Matt Sydal continues to be served up to people. This guy used to be a tag team champion in WWE, has been a journeyman, has been in New Japan Pro Wrestling, has been an Impact. But it didn't really matter because him and Brian Cage went the distance, but he took the drill call or Hurricane Rana. It didn't really matter. Sydal ascends and Cage gets his feet. Sydal jumps off, flipping neck breaker, but Cage catches him with one impressive drill claw. This is pretty cool. He kind of did like a moonsault into like a brain buster. It was very impressive. And Team Taz continues to put it out there that they're being held back. Ricky Starks cutting one hell of a promo saying the revolution will be televised. They really feel like they're being held back here. Also, then we have this second segment. This one a little bit more interesting. Cody got on the mic, kind of talks about what's going on here. Notes that there's a thunderstorm going on in Jacksonville, and they're dealing with that. He talks about losing the title to Darby Allin at this past weekend's pay-per-view, and he understands it and thinks, he'll have a rematch in good time. He gets interrupted. Here by a woman by the name of Jade Cargill. She had a glamorous outfit, a very tall, gorgeous woman who's talking him down and says that she knows a giant, a real giant. Slick statements. And then she gets out of the ring and she says that this giant has a name, and this giant's name is Shaq. Shaquille O'Neal coming to AEW. The connections there are present within media. It looks like there's some type of deal. Shaquille O'Neal is obviously, he's been featured a handful of times in WWE, even made a cameo at a WrestleMania Battle Royal. Is this when Shaquille O'Neal finally has an actual one-on-one match? He's done physical stuff with the Big Show. They were supposed to have a big match between him and the Big Show in WWE at WrestleMania, but it never materialized for whatever reason. But could this happen in AEW? Cody versus Shaquille O'Neal. How do you respond to that? That's a freaky big match, man.
I think it probably will happen, but I don't think it's going to be anything near the level of like a Pat McAfee type match. I mean, Shaq's going to have those physical encounters that are more like pushy, shovey. I don't see him getting too complex with any wrestling moves. Obviously, since he's with a TNT guy, it makes sense. But I don't think it's I don't think it's going to be quite what it's probably going to hyped up to be. I don't think it's going to live up to that expectation, but I do think it's going to attract people to watch.
Definitely. It's interesting. Now it was very cool to see Brandy Rhodes hit the ring and defend her man and called Jade Cargill a heifer, and then Jade slapped her on the ass, and then they had to. Brandy was going off here. This is the most fire I've ever seen from Brandy on the microphone in quite some time. I enjoyed this part. And it was very interesting of what they teased. I think AEW knows that they're in a position now to tease stuff, and people will get on the hook quickly, as we saw with the video game. People got on the hook with the video game announcement they made yesterday. They announced two different mobile games, a casino mobile game, and then a GM simulator, as well as down the pike a console game that'll come out on next-gen consoles and current consoles. That game developed by Ukes, and it'll have the same director as No Mercy. A lot of people are excited about it. Seems okay. I'm holding out reservations for it just yet. We have full coverage of that and the trailer, the teaser footage they have up. We have that now at WrestleZone.com. Comments coming in. JJ, watching over on YouTube. Thank you, JJ, for watching. Said, loved AEW, but I give it a 7 to 7.5. Everything was on point, but Butcher and the Blade versus the Nightmare Naturals was absolutely awesome. Every bit. BMB. Says, have Butcher and Blade have been having great matches lately. Hopefully they start winning. Let's get to this Buckhouse match. This is a Southern Fried Hardcore match, a la Dusty Rhodes. The haystacks are at ringside. You got the Natural Nightmares out there with the cutoff, the tank tops, and the blood coming on the white t-shirt, the cowboy boots over jeans. That's how you know it's an NWA hardcore match, John Clark. When people are wearing knee pads on top of denim, that's how you know it's legitimate. And they got really bloody. They got really nasty. Bulldog threw a wood platform on the outside to the Butcher. A flying bloody elbow drop from QT Marshall onto the Blade off the ladder. It kind of went a little bit long. I thought they could have ended it there. Sometimes this is a thing in AEW where they kind of cook up the match a little bit too much. Buddy got knocked off the apron and went through a table. They put everything in here. This was the match of the night. I don't think anything was better than this throughout the night. Other things were great and good and did storyline development stuff, but this felt like a pay-per-view match that we got to have on TV. This was a banger. What do you think of this? They made 2 tag teams in this match. Even Butcher and the Blade kind of losing here. They still didn't look like jerks or jabronis. They look like nasty lowdown heels, bringing nastiness out of the baby faces. And the motivation is QT Marshall was seduced by the bunny alley and ran up his credit cards. It had NWA 80s ridiculousness all over it in a good way. This is fun. I want to see more of this, and good on AEW for developing some of these tag teams they haven't featured as much recently.
Yeah, I definitely think that it was a strong way to come out of a pay-per-view, and for them to, you can clearly tell that they're on the path to developing new things and trying to get new, fresh stuff coming. I think it's important to note that this is going to be a significantly longer gap than we're used to having in between pay-per-views. Normally, they like to do it every 3 months. This time, we're getting every 4 months. It's not going to be till essentially March. It's going to be February 27th.
Yes.
That's a very, very long time. I mean,
so in response to that, they're kind of going to give you big pay-per-view matches on TV,
and they're going to give you They're going to give you big episodes of normal TV shows as well. So you're going to get We wrote this on Sunday. We're going to get a beach break, which is a knockoff of Bash at the Beach.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna look to do other events like that to make up for it. But I'm just interested to know their reasoning behind extending that pay-per-view break an extra month. Are they not really getting the income they want from them? There's got to be a reason that they decided to do this. I mean, you agree?
It's TV ratings. I think it's a demand from TNT going into the world changing so much. We know more people are going to be at home the next few months here as we get into the winter months, and there's a pandemic, and that's kind of been seen. You've seen the streaming services kind of holding off and saying we're going to have some big movies rolling out this time of year. You saw Netflix do some big acquisitions. Yeah, we're going to get Chappelle Show. We have Chappelle Show now. We have a huge TV show like that. That's like one of the top 20 comedies of all time. So I think that's them saying, here's our live platform switch. Let's get some ratings boosted up. Let's get AEW in a good position before we start having the NBA again. And then for TNT, then you can sell that cross-platform. So a little bit of TNT, so a little bit of NBA, a little bit of AEW. So I think that's kind of the position they're in now, especially when you know you're not going to have a pay-per-view for a while. You know, and that's a pay-per-view. You're not even going to know the card of that match probably until January. So we're looking at over 8 weeks of TV where, yeah, build up to the TV shows. And then maybe for them, I think the goal is to crack 1 million viewers, get that average viewership up to 1 million. And I think that's kind of what they're going for. But do you blame them? I mean, they're going to do some big stuff. They announced it tonight. 2 interesting promos from Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega won the tournament eliminator final. He will face, once again, Jon Moxley for the AEW World Title. This will be the first time they've taken each other on for the World Title, I believe. They had an unsanctioned, really controversial hardcore match at Full Gear just about a year ago, and this one will be on Free TV on December 2nd. We do understand that NXT will have a War Games later that week on December 6th. Do we get any confirmation on that tonight?
Still no development on an upcoming pay-per-view and no matches announced for any kind of show.
Yeah, I mean, if we didn't get one tonight, we're not getting one with Survivor Series. If they were going to do a takeover, we would know by now.
It's pretty safe to say we're going to get December 5th or 6th at this point.
Mm-hmm. So phenomenal big time matches on TV. We're getting Moxley versus Omega, which could be a pay-per-view main event, but I think it would be a really, really long time in today's day and age to make them say you're going to wait until early November, until the end of February to get that match. And we're just going to do teases and tag team matches. They had to put this match on TV if there was that much of a gap in between.
You cannot extend it that long. The only possible way you could would be the unfortunate if somebody was injured or something like that, where you had to. Mm-hmm. But if they know both are healthy, there's no way fans are going to be willingly waiting for this match for 4 months. It's going to get worn out by then. It's going to get old by then. People are in the day and age where they want short, fast action. They want those high spots. They want development to be a little quicker. Mm-hmm. And people aren't going to be like, hey, this match is in 4 months. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
No, and I don't think people have that type of patience yet. At the same time, they want those long-term payoffs. You know what I mean? Like it's such a challenging thing now with wrestling.
There's a middle ground you can have there.
Yeah.
But it's just hard because if they were to wait that long, this would be like an experiment that I don't think they want to do. And I want to comment briefly on you so that they're trying to build up to 1 million average. Now, I agree. You can't blame them. You have to try your best. But what I do...
And this is the time to do it. We're outside of the election news coverage. That's going to slow down before the end of the year.
I just don't see them getting to a point where they are consistently on a weekly basis averaging 1 million. All of these shows, all of professional wrestling shows against all brands everywhere, have been consistently seeing decreases year over year in ratings. Now, AEW, even though they've only been there for a year, on average, they're right now, their average viewership is like right around 800,000.
Yes.
To get them over 1 million weekly, when it's only ever happened, what? Twice.
But you're talking about average viewership. That doesn't mean segments of the show don't crack 1 million, though.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm talking solely about the average of the entire show. Mm-hmm. And I just don't see it happening. We're to the point where Raw could be at 1 million pretty soon.
Yeah, so you can get the latest on Raw ratings as well. We have those up at WrestleZone, though they are up over the past few weeks, so good on them in that degree. We had the 2020 Inner Circle induction ceremony. Chris Jericho coming out there being all rah, rah, rah. He introduces the OGs of the IC and the new IC in MJF, the man who craftily defeated him with some nefarious tactics at the Full Gear pay-per-view to win his way into the Inner Circle. The rest of the Inner Circle not feeling it. Sammy Guevara didn't come out ringside. Where was he? And they cut this promo, and MJF hilariously, I thought this was very, very funny on his part. On his part, he basically sang Drake lyrics as if they were things that he wrote as a poem. And they did the podium bit, and then he celebrated by saying they're going to Vegas next week. Ortiz was not feeling this, and he even called him out and said, dude, you're quoting Drake. So they felt that, and later in the night, we had Sammy Guevara interrupt them backstage saying that, hey, dude, come on, I didn't get that email. You got to refresh your email. There was something about email. You've had that before where somebody didn't get an email at work. I thought that was kind of clever. And they're going to Vegas next week. I've heard some people already speculate that should be their interaction. It should be like the Inner Circle's hangover. And so we're going to get a bunch of different segments with them in Vegas, pre-filmed or in the can of some way. Interesting. This looks like it's going to have dissension in the ranks. Maybe this breaks up the Inner Circle. Maybe this flings Chris Jericho into a babyface run. And I think maybe that's what they should do. But I don't know. I'm not saying I'm completely out of it. This is certainly not boring, but it's not the hottest thing right now on Wednesday nights. It's up there though.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I can agree with you on that. I don't know. I think this whole thing did not go how at least we expected it to go.
Mm-hmm.
With the whole, nobody really turned on each other. It's just like
not yet. You know, I mean, I think especially with MJF, because he's done it before with Cody, and they did such a long. He's going to be in Cody's corner, and then eventually he's going to turn on him, and they did it for a long, long time. I do think with so much time before the next pay-per-view, they have a lot of time here, or at least before even Beach Break or whenever those special shows they're going to do on TV. So definitely. Herman Takar texting in saying Ortiz or Sammy will be out of the Inner Circle. It looks like that is true. It looks like that's a possibility here. It'll be interesting to see where this goes. And people say best women's match in AEW wasn't the NWA match. I don't know if he's referencing what happened this past weekend. And people ask him if I'm a fan of House of Glory. I haven't been able to see any House of Glory recently. And so definitely a lot of different directions they can go here with Jericho and MJF. They're so big of a superstar, they almost barely have to wrestle. They have to do kind of these segments right now, and people respond to them. I mean, definitely people online were responding to it. AEW trending #1 at one point worldwide. At least for a portion of the night, they were trending #1 in the United States. So this is part of that. You have Chris Jericho, you have MJF. They really moved the needle. NXT and Leon Ruff got to crack the top 20 on Twitter trends tonight. So it is odd. I do want to know who the babyface and the heel is here, because I really don't know. It looks like it's just Jericho's in the middle playing the tweener, but I think you can only do tweener so long before people lose their frustration with it here.
Absolutely.
Fans chiming in here on Twitter at WrestleZone.com as we get live feedback here. 63.6% said, yeah, I popped for AEW Dynamite, and 36.4% said, no, I tapped out. So 63 to 36, it's not a bad number. We'll have the numbers there in terms of an instant response to this week's NXT in just a minute. And the main event was coming up here fast and quick. This would be the Lucha Brothers fighting each other. We had Sean Spears versus Scorpio Sky. Fine match. Didn't need to be as long as it was. But I enjoyed it. Fine. He did his stuff where he, put the slug in his pants. There's matches we can skip over on the rundown, guys. Tay Conti versus Red Velvet. Red Velvet lost again. Tay Conti didn't want to use the chair. She was confused. It was fine. I could have seen this match on Dark. Didn't move the needle. Where is Sheeta? Sheeta's your AEW World Champion. She just had a big match against Nyla Rose. Her or Nyla Rose, not featured on this show. They were featured in video packages with everything else with the women. So once again, AEW, they'll have the women on, but they won't really fully develop them, to say the least. So that's just the way things stand there. Main event though, Rey Fenix versus Penta El Ciro, and this was nasty. This was crazy. Canadian destroyers. We had package pile drivers on the ropes. They're ripping each other's masks. They really, really went for it. Eddie Kingston encouraging that the brothers hate each other. The match ends. Penta wins. And Eddie kind of like dismisses Rey Fenix, kind of like shrugs him off with his foot to the outside of the ring and says, "You're my best friend." And then Pac interrupts them. He was with the Death Triangle of Rey Fenix and Penta. They were going to be a group. And then Eddie kind of came in July and he got stuck overseas in the UK. Right move. Pac is a huge star. He was one of those big first stars that AEW scooped up at the beginning of their run. What do you think of him coming back? They did the pull apart between him and Eddie. That seems like the direction they're going in. And Pac will be on Dynamite next week.
I don't know. It's hard for me to predict where they're going with this because obviously before he left, he was hurt, right? Is that why he left, or was it a?
It was more COVID. It was more COVID related.
Okay, yeah. I'm not really sure where they were storyline wise whenever he left. I mean, I'm not even really sure where they're at storyline wise now with it. But to have a big name like him back is obviously going to be an advantage.
I agree. Definitely chime in. Give us your ratings on AEW this week's show. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm going to give this a 7.9, nearly an 8. They did some really, really banger matches. I love the bunkhouse hardcore match. It got Natural Nightmares over as a team that don't just feel like they're paired together because QT Marshall is an executive assistant and Dustin Rhodes is Cody's brother. No, both these guys deserve it. This is the first time they look like a full-fledged team in the spirit of 80s NWA in a good way. I enjoyed it. Even Butcher and the Blade losing the match didn't seem bad. Some developments with Pac, some developments with what's going to happen with Eddie Kingston, who had an I Quit match and doesn't feel like a goon, doesn't feel like a jabron at all. And we're getting Omega. We're getting Omega versus Moxley on free TV. Things are looking good for AEW, but the women's division still seems light. Doesn't seem as developed and as focused as it should be. Yeah, we have some wild developments with Cody maybe having a match with Shaquille O'Neal. I'm intrigued. They got me on the hook, and the hook is firmly planted in cheek, though there is some saltiness I'm still trying to get out of my mouth with some things. Overall, I'm not thinking too bad. Laura Rock is an 8.6. Daniel Miller's giving it a 9 out of 10. So
what did Sean Smith give it?
Well, Sean Smith is always critical of it. What did you give it here, Sean? Did he give us a review of the show?
Did.
Sean, he gives it a 4 to 10.
Fair,
laughing my ass off.
Fair.
So you have one person to poo-poo on it. There you go, buddy. I love it. You're always stirring the pot here. But some people...
Hold up. Mm-hmm. We've got a review from Bubba Dunk Funkin'.
Oh, come on. That's a name. That may be the best name we've had for a screen name on it. A man who's apparently wearing a Halloween mask gives it a flat goose egg. He gives AEW a 0. Bubba Dunk Funkin'. Did he work? Was that Bully Ray's first name when he was wrestling? Bubba Dunk Funkin'. That's a name. That is a ridiculous.
Hey, I'm just saying, Sean wasn't the only one. I mean, we just had Herman give his rating. He gives it a 5.
Okay. All right. I can feel
all good news tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
Even James Espanto only gave it a 6.
James Espanto Fernando Taguay. He says AEW's women's division is in a holding pattern until fans come back. It definitely feels low priority list for them. Yet they had their own tournament, on YouTube, and they had all this focus. They have the AEW heels thing. Yet you see them on TV, and it's they're on Dynamite. Tay Conti and Red Velvet had a match on Dynamite. Jade Cargill was in the ring with Cody, so you can't say they're not featuring these female performers and female characters. Brandy had a very prominent role out there tonight. So definitely, I don't think I get it, Brian Dawson saying AEW's just WWE rejects. I don't know if that's true, Brian. I don't know if that's completely true. And other people with different takes here. So let's get into WWE NXT. They had some big news announcing tonight. We'll get into the big news from them. We have the WWE NXT champion who had his jaw wired shut with bolts in it a few weeks ago, returning. And Finn Balor will be back on WWE NXT next week. Big announcement for them. They really needed this.
Yeah, this is something they've desperately needed, and not to mention with the mysterious disappearance of Io Shirai as well the past couple weeks.
Mm.
They needed to get this back, and now with Finn Balor coming back, I think it's great. I think it's much needed, and I think he was away for just long enough where it's not too bad that they kept the title on him.
Some people really feeling this week's NXT. Sam Walker texting us, giving it an 8 out of 10. So he's really feeling this show. We had some big stuff here at the beginning of the show. Johnny Gargano. They've been pushing this for weeks and weeks and weeks. Every time he's won a title in NXT, he has lost the title on his first defense.
Sasha Banks style.
Yeah, Sasha Banks. And they've already called it the Gargano's curse, which I think is a great concept. You know, it's one of those organic things that they didn't really plan that kind of happens.
They've also played up the fact the past couple weeks that he is afraid of wheels.
Yet he had a wheel out there tonight,
which is why he brought the wheel out with everybody's name.
Isn't he so much more personable and charismatic as a heel? He's so much more personable as a heel. And he comes out, he's so proud to be the North American champion. And he says, every time I've had a belt, I've lost it for whatever reason. Someone cheated me on it, my first defense. And that's not going to happen. But I'm going to give charity to NXT. I'm going to give charity to all of you. And we're going to spin the wheel. Respect the wheel. And it's him goofing on the spin the wheel, make a deal stuff he had to do at Halloween Havoc, where he came out on top, and they made it feel like he was going to come out on top. And he took the title from Damien Priest, who we see is later at ringside. They're teasing that, but who's going to get a challenge, and who gets it? Very, very new to NXT, like extremely new to NXT. Has had a handful of matches. We've seen him here and there, and is seen as just kind of like a delightful, fun up and comer guy, but no one you would think as a guy who's going to go out there and shock the world.
He was the jobber of NXT,
a modern day Barry Horowitz.
And listen, whenever the segment first started, and you see Damien Priest, Timothy Thatcher, all those names on the wheel, and one spot randomly white painted Leon Ruff, you knew Leon Ruff was going to be the one that got spun. But it was so bad that when the wheel spins, it magically starts going the other way, and then the other way, and then the other way, and it stops on Leon Ruff. So at that point,
are you telling me that's a gimmicked wheel? A gimmick the wheel?
Well, he admitted later on it was, but what I'm saying is, I'm pretty sure like 99.9% of NXT fans thought this was going to be a squash match where Gargano was going to destroy him and win and say, "Hey, I've broken the curse."
And then he would do this. He would do this every week, where he would just have less than ready challengers in the wheel. Yeah.
What happened?
Leon Ruff won the NXT North American Championship. This is the first time where WWE did one of their WWE things, where we're going to do something we can do on TV for multiple weeks, make it interesting, but you kind of know the result.
This is like James Ellsworth beating AJ Styles clean.
Exactly. And so they go to this. They have the wonderful environment, I think, of the Capitol Wrestling Center. I really love the vibe there. I'm really, really getting into it. Are you not into it?
Oh, I like it. I especially enjoyed the Veterans Day tribute with the American flags. And
they had the American flags wrap around it. So it opened on a good vibe. I like people pounding on the glass. That makes it look different than
like a hockey game.
Yeah, like a hockey game. But they have portions of the glass where people can move out. And Damien Priest is like up there, and Johnny Gargano is making fun of him.
Portions of that wall was just like steel cage now. It's not even glass anymore. Did you see that?
I didn't notice that.
Behind the announcers, it wasn't glass. It was like just steel cage.
Okay.
But yeah, so Leon Ruff wins the match, and Vic Joseph goes absolutely crazy when Leon Ruff wins. Wade Barrett is sitting there like, what just happened? Like, he was basically like making it seem like it was genuinely something that he had just learned was going to happen.
And Priest distracted him. Like he came out by a portion of the barricade that was kind of open to the ring a little bit.
Yeah,
kind of caught Johnny off guard. He gets in the ring, roll up finish, and little Leon Ruff walks away with the NXT North American Championship.
So then we pan backstage where William Regal was met with Damien Priest and Leon Ruff and an interviewer asking Leon Ruff, how he feels. Before he can even give his reaction, Damien Priest says, "Hey, Gargano's pissed. He's going to come back here and he's going to beat the hell out of you. Take the keys to my Dodge Challenger and leave." So Priest hands over the keys to his car, leaves. Gargano comes back, throws a fit, tells William Regal, this was a joke. Everybody knew this was a joke. It was supposed to happen this way. Basically, wanted them to overturn the decision, and this storyline ends for the night with William Regal saying, "Leon Ruff is our new North American champion," and that's how we're gonna roll. So that's crazy.
This was shocking. This is, and I'll give it to NXT. They said, "Let's do something you don't see coming." And everything about this feels like modern WWE. Let's come up with a device that we can do on TV over and over again for a heel, and maybe someone's going to catch him off guard. But for the most part, you kind of know how this is going to go.
Triple H written all over it.
Yes, and this had Triple H written all over it of a curveball, like
Did you
a
see
traditional
the photo
thing with the curveball.
Backstage together? Afterwards, you know how Triple H.
Yes, I did see that. Did you see that picture? It was really funny.
Yeah, Leon Ruff didn't even have the title on because it wouldn't fit. It was too big.
So Leon Ruff is a pretty skinny guy. All right, so I would describe him as
he's like 160, I think.
He's 160. He has a build, I would say, similar.
He's a cruiserweight.
Yeah, he has a build similar to I would say a little bit more of a cut James Ellsworth, Leo Rush,
Finn Balor, kind of
Finn
Balor.
like Finn Balor, but like a little bit not nearly as cut. All right. But Leon Ruff has been having fun matches, but he's losing these matches. He's having fun, exciting matches, losing them, and he got whooped here by Johnny Gargano all the time.
Can you imagine if there was fans at this show?
They would lose their mind. They would lose their mind. And the thing is, even the limited amount of fans they had in attendance to the Capitol Wrestling Center lost their minds. This was so cool.
I think what eventually happens is literally exactly what William T. Wager said in the comments. Priest is eventually going to turn on him and get the belt, and he's going to just destroy Leon Ruff, and he's going to get the title back. That's the only way I see this happening.
Yes.
What do you think? How long do they go on with
I think it's a transitional thing, and that's no shot at Leon Ruff.
Until takeover?
Yeah. Maybe this is just he's just in a supporting role. We've barely even seen a promo from this guy on TV.
We've never seen a promo from this
guy. There's that, but give it to him. The guy came out. He did his intro where he's like putting on his kick pads and he wasn't ready to go. And
3 weeks ago, this guy jobbed to Austin Theory, who then immediately jobbed after that to Damien Priest. So think about that for a minute.
Yeah. Daniel Miller saying NXT was so much better than Raw. Raw will never catch up to NXT. It looks like a lot of people are telling me that Raw this week was not as good as NXT. But you know what? The jury's still out, so we'll find out.
I was giving the thumbs up to Herman's comment that he made.
What did Herman say? Herman Suplex saying Leon Ruff could be AEW champion. I don't know about that. I don't know if he could hang in there with John Moxley. So let's see here. Let's get into this, man. This is certainly a development as we get closer to what to be the next pay-per-view. What matches are coming together for this takeover that has not been announced, but reportedly will take place on December 6th or sometime in December?
So pretty much only one I can think of, which is going to be Undisputed Era versus the Kings of NXT, Pat McAfee's group, in a War Games match. I was starting to believe we were going to get Io Shirai versus Rhea Ripley. However, we're getting that next week on NXT instead. So
that could be a big match here.
We haven't seen Ember Moon in a couple weeks either, so I'm pretty sure that she will be in the next NXT takeover in some capacity as well.
I could see that as well. The look on Leon Ruff's face here on Twitter when he wins his title. We had Santos Escobar defending the NXT Championship against Jake Agnes.
Yeah, that was to me, a pretty predictable match. I mean, Santos is doing kind of well with the title there, but I'm more interested in what they're doing here with Jordan Devlin on NXT UK, who still claims that he's the real Cruiserweight champion. And I just can't help but to wonder, when are we going to bring these two together in a match? But I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're heading that way, but they just are kind of running with the two Cruiserweight champion storyline. I'm not really a big fan of it. Who do you think is the true Cruiserweight champion?
I would say Santos Escobar. I mean, the circumstances with Jordan Devlin was kind of like put on ice, are not even pandemic related, though they are. I mean, he's stuck in the UK and Ireland with everything. And
that wasn't it, though. Yeah,
and it was speaking out related allegations. We don't know if those allegations have been cleared of his name. NXT did kind of vet their ranks, mostly in the UK, where they had the heaviest amount of allegations there when that movement happened. Jordan Devlin was accused of some very, very serious things. And that was the circumstances and why you weren't seeing him. And they were starting to use him on NXT in 205 when he got that title. And there was a lot of people who had a lot of high expectations for Devlin. I don't know where they go with him. I don't know. But I mean, if they're having him talk about it, it must be something where they feel they can do something with him. I think stick with Escobar. I mean, the guy is, I like people challenging him and him winning and finding ways to win and having these really competitive matches.
You know who I wouldn't mind seeing defeat him for the title? And that's Kushida.
Because I think Kushida would be the right guy to go with.
There's nobody really else they could go with right now.
And he's super credible. I think New Japan fans would actually kind of tune in for that.
He can stop time.
He can stop time. He's the time splitter. All right. He comes out there with a Marty McFly vest on, and he's going to go Doc Brown on everybody. I think Kushida is the guy to go with. And Kushida not featured nearly as much. They were doing some big stuff with him. I was hoping for more of him.
Same with Velveteen Dream and same with Austin Theory. And they're just kind of putting a brief Karrion Kross, Finn Balor. There's a lot of guys that are just kind of on the shelf with nothing going on right now.
Yeah, so we're waiting to see what happens here. Yet they're still trying to develop some new characters and new storylines with those characters. So I don't blame them for that. We saw Austin Gray get the call up here from Evolve recently. He was featured. Xia Li was featured. She was in ring tonight with Raquel Gonzalez.
She wasn't in ring tonight, actually.
This ended pretty quickly with Boa getting involved here. What is this whole storyline? What is going on with Boa? Xia Li can't win a match, and some people are angry at her.
Let me first make it clear that Xia Li was not there tonight. So we got Gonzalez out to the ring, and then Boa comes out and he says, "Hey, Xia Li can't be here tonight. There's been an emergency." And Raquel's like, "Well, she called me out. Why ain't she here?"
Yeah.
So basically, Boa's like, "Get over it," and he's about to leave the ring. He gets absolutely destroyed by Raquel Gonzalez. This is like the worst I've seen a female superstar beat up a male superstar in quite some time.
That one-handed choke slam is so nasty.
Boa is crawling out to go up the ramp, and another Chinese figure comes out to a dragon Titantron in red fog lights and hands a letter to Boa, and then rubs a blood on his wrist, like a blood pattern. And Boa just clenches the letter as hard as he can, does not open it, and that's how the segment ends. So they're clearly taking the storyline somewhere, but nobody has any idea where.
Where can it go? I'll say it's intriguing. It's intriguing. It's definitely intriguing in terms of how it can go and what could happen with it. Yeah. I mistweeted on our Twitter that was Johnny Gargano when I saw that happen. So yeah, I thought that was Johnny Gargano for a second. I got it. Don't worry, I got it. My bad. I botched it up. You effed up. You effed up. You effed up.
You were Botchamania tonight.
I was Botchamania. Botchamania had some funny things to say today. So if you want to look it up, we retweeted him about what he thinks.
Yeah, so that was
what do you think Cody's going to say in this promo with Shaquille O'Neal if it happens? Yeah.
That was a pretty good segment, and I would think that the only other thing that we should probably get into more detail about is the main event here for the Tag Team Championships. I'm not sure if you caught any of it. However, it was a very good back-and-forth match. Breezango continued to show they're reliable performers, and they can be good against anybody. Pat McAfee is an absolute brilliant heel. He has amazing persona gimmick in the ring. Yeah, he comes onto the ring and he says, "How am I going to cut this promo to the internet wrestling community, who is the worst internet community of anybody?" Then he looks over and he's like, "I'm going to cut this promo and I'm going to go over there and I'm going to sit with Bad News Barrett and commentate this match." So he basically just tells it how it is. He doesn't care. He knows nobody cares. He can do what he wants. The match was good. Drake Maverick interfered. But like I said, Pete Dunne immediately took him out. And overall, it was not a clean win, but it was a win for the tag team champions. What do you think about this storyline and how they're building up to a potential War Games match?
I think it's the biggest match they can get right now if they don't have anything with Finn Balor. And that's been the direction they're going in. They're leaning on Pat McAfee's star power here to make this happen, to make this into a bigger match, to collect a bunch of different talent. And the time frame works. You know you're going to get a War Games match this time of year. They've kind of...
That's not how you say War Games.
War Games. All right. So I knew they were going to get something here out of these guys, and that this was going to be a big deal. And it feels like a big deal. And it's because you got Pat McAfee, you know, talking you into this match. When you can't really talk him into seats, you need a guy who can move things digitally. And he's a guy who can do that. He has a big following.
If Pat wanted to dedicate the time to NXT, he could honestly be a main eventer within a year. He has the talent. He has the skill. He has the personality. And I don't think he's that old either, is he?
He's up there, but I think you could hide him in a match like this. In a War
He's only
Games
33.
Match. He's only 33, but I mean, look at the match he had. You know, look at the match he had here. And
it was
look
a
what he
banger.
did with it.
It was
what?
a banger. It was a
it
banger.
was a banger. I mean, look at the match he had here. I mean, the match he had with Adam Cole was way better than anyone expected. And it was very, very impressive. I'm
War
looking forward
Games.
to War Games. Definitely looking ahead here. Where does this come together? They haven't announced it yet. We haven't seen much of the Undisputed Era. Their flag got burned. And Breezango get to hang out with these guys for the night, but we knew where this is going. We know this is going to be Undisputed Era. We knew that.
Maybe somebody's still not healthy from Undisputed Era. Is anybody not healthy? I mean, Kyle O'Reilly was banged up a little bit. Adam Cole supposedly was banged up a little bit. Maybe they're just kind of dragging it out so everybody's healthy. I mean, now with no fans, they can honestly have a takeover whenever they want. They don't really need to give a 2 months notice anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you think of Breezango and against Lorcan and Danny here?
The match was very good. I love how Breezango did the serious look. They didn't do the little goofy entrance they normally do. Back and forth match. And like I said before, Fandango and Tyler Breeze are... And they even highlighted this before the match. They basically said, we've been here for 5 years. They've been reliable all of those 5 years. They've been entertaining all 5 of those years. They are, as far as NXT goes, and with the exception of Johnny Gargano, the company men of NXT. It is Breezango. They are dedicated. They came down from the main roster when they knew they were struggling, when NXT might have needed some help, and it rejuvenated their careers. It really did. And I like them there.
Definitely. So overall, what do you think of tonight? You got something else? Sorry.
But the main roster is starting to be a little short on tag teams, so I wouldn't necessarily mind if they were going to get bumped back up at some time soon.
True. It makes sense. And if they're going to keep Undisputed Era and NXT, this is a way to keep them there and give them something long-term to chase and go after. It's these kings of NXT.
Overall, for NXT tonight, I gave it an 8 out of 10.
An 8 out of 10. I give AEW a 7.8. Pretty good night of wrestling all around.
You said 7.9 earlier.
7.9. It was close, right? So we had a pretty solid night all around with this show. I think this is a fun night for wrestling. If you're complaining, guys, you're just looking for something to complain about. I mean, there's some things we had different irks with here and there, but things are looking good. Sound off. Let us know what you guys think. Get on screen. Plenty to cover. Some other things we have going on at WrestleZone right now. That special interview with Doc Gallows leading up to the Talking Shop-A-Mania is available now. That pay-per-view will be on Fight TV on Friday night. You get that. We also have our Impact Pro Wrestling show. If you're behind on Impact, we can catch you up on it. We have some big news about a big team leaving Impact Wrestling. And you guys have to check out our Impact Pro Wrestling show. Just check you out, all that stuff. It's on our YouTube or Facebook. And we have the story up now about what that team is. Who are they? Why are they leaving? That's up now at WrestleZone, and you can check that out. A lot more coming to the feed this week. I'll be busy tomorrow, hopefully, with AEW Alive. A lot more to follow. It's all at WrestleZone.com. Go there, follow it. And you can follow me online at Kev Kellam, at Kev Kellam on Twitter and all the different stuff. Follow at Dominic D'Angelo. He'll be doing our big AEW focus show on Friday called Two Dynamite Dudes with Attitudes. I got to do an AEW full year post show with them. If you haven't checked that out, go listen to it. A lot of content, hours and hours of content for you to listen to. Definitely take it in, man. Definitely take it all in there. John, where can they follow you on Twitter?
John R. Clark 12.
John R. Clark 12. Follow me at Kev Kellam. Follow at WrestleZone.com. All that good stuff. If you're watching this video, help us out. Share the video. Share it. Or just maybe you don't want to share it on your feed. Just tag your friends. Maybe you go to a wrestling page, post it there, or go listen to the podcast. Maybe you listen to part of the show, you watch on video, go listen to the rest on the podcast feed. Go ahead and do that too. Shout out to everyone in Australia. A lot of new people listening to the show there. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. Much appreciation there. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you tomorrow with a wrap up of the week and looking ahead at Talking Shop Mania and so much more. Check it out in the feed. We'll see you tomorrow. Remember, when watching wrestling, John, tell them what they got to do.
Enjoy wrestling.
Well, you don't sound like you're enjoying it, John. Come on. Give me a happy one. Hey, John, are you enjoying wrestling?
Enjoy.